Dusty discusses living by biblical principles and then casually mentions watching Deadpool and Wolverine. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say you got me there. I mean, 100%. That movie is vile. It is one of the most vile things I've ever seen. I can't believe I watched it. But this is what happened to me. And this is what people, I think, need to understand about me. I have always been a Christian, but I was living a wild life for a long time. Even as a kid, I was around wild people. I learned adult street jokes, you know, the kind of jokes that you tell people. There was a joke that I learned from my cousins. It was a joke where a guy, where it's a kid, talks about taking a shower with his mom and having some questions. And he asks, "What are those?" She says, "Those are my headlights." He says, "What is that?" I hope your kids are not listening. But I was a kid. And then she gives it a name. And then he takes a shower with his dad. He says, "What is that?" His dad says, "That's my Z28. And then the final punchline was, the kid was like, "Better turn on your headlights, better open your gates. Here comes daddy with a Z28, right? That was a joke that I learned as a kid, and I told that to my mom and my dad separately. They both laughed, and then they both said, while still laughing, "You know you shouldn't be telling jokes like that." And I didn't even know what I was talking about, okay? I had good people around me, but all pretty wild. I learned a lot of things, and I learned them too fast. And then when I was, 16, 17, I really got into other things. I got into doing substances. And then I would continue to do those, well, to some degree until now. But others, I quit drinking, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But, there's a lot to unpack here. So, yeah, I mean, I got roped into Marvel movies. I'd never was into any of them. There was 2 or 3 that came out. Like there was like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, I think, had come out. And an Incredible Hulk. And I didn't watch any of those. But I went to see The Avengers with a couple of my friends in the theaters. And I was like, holy crap, I love this. And so I went to the theater and saw it again. And it just hooked me. And I started, because I collected comic books and comic book cards as a kid. I still have a bunch of the cards. And I was just like, man, this is awesome. I love this. So I love a good action movie. I always loved a good fantasy movie. So I just got locked into them. And I watched all of them. I've watched, every Marvel movie up till, Endgame, Infinity War, whichever one was last. And then, I just kind of pick and choose from there. And, the Deadpool Wolverine combo seemed fun. I knew the Deadpool movies were dirty and that I shouldn't be watching them, but I was like, I don't know, I like them. And I was on a plane and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And that movie, it was so over the top. The Wolverine movies were always so good. It was just an unnecessary movie. It didn't need to be made, and it didn't need to be that dirty. It doesn't need to be dirty at all. None of these things need to be dirty, but this is what people like. People go, oh, yeah, it's like a Marvel movie, but they cuss a lot. And I'm like, yeah, but why do you need that? Why do you want a Marvel movie that cusses a lot? Cussing doesn't add anything to anything. This is what cussing does. When you're mad, it adds emphasis. I like it. That's the only time it makes sense to me. But yeah, I got things that I'm always trying to rid myself of.